My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 61 Dern versus Jan fight card. I'm going to give you my picks, my predictions, and my bets. And a lot of these bets were placed early. Weeks ago, we had a week off, and I'm always a week ahead anyway. So a lot of these bets were placed early, and if you were a premium member, you have seen them, you've seen the line movement, and you should be pretty pleased with what you're getting so far. So head on over to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's $10 a month. We're never going to touch that price point. You get all of our picks the minute we make them. All of our bets the minute we make them. You get a DraftKings optimizer. You get FanDuel content, Prize Picks content, all sorts of confidence picks, bets, tools, and everything else anybody has ever needed to make some money watching fights. Only $10 a month. That's $2.50 a week. Go to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. And we're coming off of an interesting fight card, UFC Vegas 60. And a lot of our people had some success. People are tweeting us their winning lineups, tweeting us their tickets, tweeting us how well they've done in Prize Picks, which hits every week. That streak's got to end soon because it's been way too good. So join them, become a premium member, make some money, have some success. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. And as always, if you want $50, $50, we will literally give you $50. All you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up with any one of our sportsbook partners, make a deposit, and I will send you $50. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, however you want it. WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up, make a deposit, I'll send you $50. For the most part, this card has been pretty stable. Considering we had a week off, usually fights will fall apart and things like that. It's been pretty stable. We've shaken up the order. We did lose a fight, but I'm going to go ahead and break this down. And opening up UFC Vegas 61 is one of my most confident picks and bets. We got Jessica Penne taking on Tabatha Ricci. And Jessica Penne has been fighting since 2006, so she has 16 years of experience. And during that time, she's picked up some skills. She's become a pretty well-rounded fighter. She's really not great at any one thing, but she does have okay boxing, solid grappling. She had a 4-year layoff in 2017, and since then she came back and she's gotten 2 wins in the UFC. Style-wise, she likes to come forward, but stay technical and push that pressure and that pace. If she can get a takedown, then great. But she has a low 21% takedown accuracy, and she went 0 for 8 in her last fight against Emily Ducote. Tabatha Ricci is a very good grappler who's always looking for a submission, but she doesn't sacrifice position for the chase, meaning she'll get the takedown, she'll have nice top pressure and control, she'll ground and pound, create scrambles, and just look to keep you there and work for a submission if it's available. She made her UFC debut against Manon Fiorot. That was on short notice, so you'll see that loss on her record, but that was also at 125 pounds, where her weight class is 150. And since then, she's had a couple of dominant performances. Tabatha Ricci is going to dominate this fight. She averages almost 4 takedowns per fight. Penne has a low 40% takedown defense. Penne will have the experience. She's going to have the veteran savvy on her side, but I don't think that matters at all. I think she spends the entire fight defending takedowns and submissions. I love Tabatha Ricci. I had a money line bet on her, or have. I got it at minus 150. She is now minus 220, and we haven't even hit the later part of the week. It's going to flex even more. Premium members, you guys love these plugs, but premium members have seen that bet for 2 full weeks. That's how I got it at minus 150. I'm going to get some outstanding closing line value on Tabatha Ricci. That's why you should become a premium member. Get ahead of that line movement. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's only $10 a month. This Tabatha Ricci bet hits. Well, all of a sudden you paid for many, many months worth of membership, just with the difference of the line that premium members get versus everybody else. You pay for many months of premium membership. Then we have Aleksei Oleinik taking on Ilir Latifi. This fight has been scheduled 2 times already. They both fell apart. This is the 3rd attempt at this. The most recent one was at UFC 273. Aleksei Oleinik, listen, he's old, but he is a ridiculously experienced grappler. He's got a high finish rate. His chin is pretty much gone at this age. His cardio was never great, still isn't. His wrestling could definitely use some work, but he can literally submit anyone from anywhere. it's just ugly to get it to the ground. And just think of an older Paul Craig, except Aleksei will actually come out there and try to get a takedown and not just lay on his back like a wet fish. Anyway, he's coming off his first win in 2 full years, and it was a pretty typical Aleksei Oleinik fight. He was losing the striking, somehow ended up on the ground, and then won by submission. Ilir Latifi is a wrestler who was a 205-pounder, but this is his 3rd fight at heavyweight. He throws big punches to set up his takedowns, and from there he tries to stay busy, but he can slow down later in fights. His first fight at heavyweight was against Derek Lewis, and while he did get a few takedowns and he wasn't knocked out, he just couldn't hold him down, and he lost a decision where he landed only 5 significant strikes. Ilir Latifi fought Derek Lewis for 15 full minutes and landed 5 significant strikes. That's ridiculous. Ridiculously low. And it's easy to say that Aleksei Oleinik is 1-3 in his last 4, but if you look at those 3 losses, he lost to Sergey Spivak, who's very good. And that was a sloppy fight that Aleksei had some dominant positions in. He lost to Dawkins, he lost to Derek Lewis. All 3 of those people probably beat Ilir Latifi as well. Derek Lewis already has. The biggest problem here is that Aleksei Oleinik is 45 years old, and while we all know that heavyweights can have success later into their careers, that's just hard to back. It's just hard to look at a 45-year-old and be like, he's going to win this fist fight. Ilir Latifi is coming off of a solid win over Tanner Boser. That was after a 3-fight skid, but in that fight, he only landed 10 total strikes. So Ilir Latifi, one of the lowest volume strikers on the planet, and especially considering that he's getting takedowns, that's even more low. He's on top in dominant positions and just not doing anything with it. This is another spot, like my brain and my gut are completely split. My brain is saying you can't pick a 45-year-old. You just cannot pick a 45-year-old. But my gut is saying that, all right, Oleinik is the more dangerous fighter. He's an insane grappler who can submit anybody. He's fighting a wrestler who's going to take him down. How could you not pick him? You ever see that Disney movie Inside Out where, I got 2 little kids, where all of the different personality traits are arguing with each other and like kind of control the body? That's what's happening here. I don't know what to do here. Aleksei Oleinik, dangerous grappler. This will end up on the ground. Ilir Latifi, younger, hits harder. We'll have better cardio. We'll have more control in the fight. Like, it's such a toss-up. I'm going to go with Ilir Latifi here. Eventually, Aleksei Oleinik is going to look stupid old. And not that he's looking young in his fights, but he's still getting done what he needs to get done. I'm going with Ilir Latifi here. I think he absolutely gets it done. The odds are definitely too wide. The DraftKings pricing is going to be too wide. So this is probably a no-touch situation. The bet you might want to place is Aleksei Oleinik inside the distance decision, no action. But I think he can stop or get stopped as well. So this may be an under position. I don't know. We'll see when all the odds drop. And frankly, you don't need to bet on every single fight, especially when there are 13 to choose from on this fight card. Then we got Maxim Grishin taking on Philipe Lins. Maxim Grishin is a striker. He throws in combinations, but he just loves sitting on a big right hand. He does an amazing job of waiting and then rushing forward with a combination when there's an opening. And as soon as he senses you're out of rhythm or off balance, he's going to attack. He's like a shark with blood in the water. He's got fantastic, my Sean Connery breakdown. He's got fantastic finish instincts. He's coming off a decision win over William Knight, but if you remember that fight, he was tossed around early, took some damage early, was able to survive, and then eventually just broke William Knight and won that fight. Philipe Lins is a former heavyweight who's coming off of a win at his light heavyweight debut. He had legit power at heavyweight, and it seems to have carried down with him. He's a BJJ black belt, but he prefers to hang out inside the pocket and trade or walk you down with heavy hands. He showcased his wrestling in his last fight against Marcin Prachniow with 4 takedowns, and he had more than a full round of control time. And this is another tough fight to call because both guys have power in their hands, and both guys can grapple if they need to. Philipe is absolutely the better grappler, but also the worse and more hittable striker. So I got to go with Maxim here because of the striking, but this is an incredibly close fight. And if Philipe hits that same wrestling rhythm that he did against Prachniow, he can dominate here. Maxim has been taken down 7 times in 4 fights, and he may not be able to survive Felipe's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So tricky fight, another split, and there's only a couple of very confident picks on this card. This is not one of them. Then we have Joaquim Silva taking on Jesse Ronson. Joaquim Silva is a BJJ guy. He's got fantastic hands as well. He is very inactive, though. He only has 3 fights in 4 years. But when he's competing, he's very explosive. He's always looking for a knockout. Even though he does have a BJJ black belt and he's more than capable on the ground, he basically never attempts takedowns, and he's always looking to strike. He's got so much power that he is live in every fight that he's in. And his last win, that was against Jared Gordon in 2018. He was clearly losing that fight, and he was just able to snatch that from the grips of a probably job-losing loss with just some big, big power late. Jesse Ronson is coming off that submission loss to Rafa Garcia, and before that, a submission win over Nicholas Dalby, but that was overturned because of a banned substance. Technique-wise, he's a busy striker with sneaky power and solid takedown defense. Even though he is a striker who prefers to strike, he's got solid offensive BJJ and has a lot of success snatching things up in scrambles. Another tricky fight. This whole card is loaded with them because you just don't know what you're going to get here. Like, this feels like a layup for Joaquim Silva, right? Like, he's hits harder, should be the better raw grappler, but his inactivity is kind of a problem, right? And his recent losses have me a little worried. And Jesse has nothing to offer in that Rafa Garcia fight other than some solid cardio, and he didn't stop pressuring. So I can see Jesse being the overall less talented fighter, but because of that pressure, because of that cardio, he could probably get some takedowns, and I think he can squeak out this win. So the pick is Jesse. This is another probably no bet type situation. But Joaquim Silva, with these long layoffs, I think Jesse can pressure forward, come forward, get him down, hopefully avoid that big power, and get it done. Then we have Julija Stoliarenko taking on Chelsea Chandler. Julija Stoliarenko is an interesting fighter to break down, right? She's got a miserable takedown accuracy of 22%. But she is very slick off her back, and she's got a ton of submission wins in her career. Her striking is a bit sloppy, and she is very hittable. She's got that negative striking differential of 2.5 to 4. But she's willing to brawl, and she's got some heavy kicks. She did prove some of the haters wrong in her last fight with just a beautiful takedown. Just bang, right up the middle takedown, and then an armbar all inside of a minute. That armbar was not surprising, but that takedown genuinely was. Chelsea Chandler's a powerful and well-rounded fighter who comes forward throwing bombs, and then she pushes you against the cage where she'll work in some takedowns. She's incredibly strong, and she uses that strength to rip you to the mat and then control you from there. She's not incredibly fast. She's not going to be the most athletic fighter in the cage, but she's tough, she's powerful, and she just never stops coming forward. Chelsea Chandler's the favorite here. That line is continuing to move a little bit. And I get it, right? She can march forward. She can bomb away on Julija and most likely avoid being submitted from top because she's going to be the one on top here. The issue, though, is you never know what you're going to get with a UFC debut. You might get Joe Pfeiffer from 2 weeks ago. He's going to show up big time, get it done. Or you might get Daniel Zellhuber from 2 weeks ago, which was one of the biggest favorites on the entire card. Clearly the better fighter, and he just froze up and just didn't do what he needed to do. If Chelsea shows up the same way that she has in her last 4 fights, then she's going to win this fight. The pick is Chelsea. I expect her to get takedowns. Again, this is a weird, let's see what the prop bets do. Probably a no-bet situation, but I think Chelsea's genuinely the better fighter here. I think she's going to get the takedowns, and her jiu-jitsu should be good enough to avoid being submitted off, while she's on top with Julija on her back. But this is going to come down to prop bets to decide if I'm going to bet it or not. Then we've got Brendan Allen taking off Krzysztof Jotko in a surprisingly early slot on the card. The UFC just loves throwing Brendan Allen on main cards against random opponents for some reason. But this is a prelim, and maybe they'll shuffle the order later. But for now, Brendan Allen is in a prelim. He is a BJJ black belt with solid low kicks, solid takedowns, and he's much improved striking overall. He moved to Sanford MMA a few camps ago, and you can see those improvements. Historically, his game plan was grapple first, right? He'd get the takedown, he'd be tough on top, and he'd work from there. But at some point in the last year and a half, he turned into a striker. And he's had mixed results. He's coming off that Jacob Malkoun win where he gave up 7 takedowns and 7 minutes of control time. I think he won that fight. I think it's probably 50-50 split how people think that went. But he has won a few scrambles in that fight, and his ground game overall seemed to make up for some poor decision-making He's been knocked out recently. He didn't look good against Sam Alvey, but frankly, Brendan Allen's a pretty well-rounded guy. Krzysztof Jotko has fantastic speed and is very athletic. He has good takedown defense and very high volume output. He typically looks to dance around the outside and just sort of touch up his opponents. He's got solid takedown defense at 83%, and even if he is taken down, he's got good enough submission defense to survive. He's coming off that dominant win over Gerald Meerschaert, where he actually doubled his strikes and got 4 of his own takedowns, which, yeah, game plan-wise wasn't the best idea, but he got it done. And I like Jotko here, right? Brendan Allen fancies himself as a striker lately, and if he comes into this fight with a strike-first game plan, he's going to be picked apart. He's going to be jabbed to hell, and he's going to lose this fight. Jotko's faster, cleaner, just a better overall striking technique. If he gets shot on, he should be able to defend the takedowns, and although unlikely, he might even be able to get his own takedowns. I like Brendan Allen. But again, if we look at his last couple of fights, Chris Curtis knocked him out cold. Sam Alvey, yes, he ended up winning that fight in the second round, but he did not look good in the first round. You're misremembering it if you think Brendan Allen smoked Sam Alvey, and I think he lost his last fight. So Brendan Allen could, I'm not going to say be 0-3 because the Sam Alvey one, definitely won that fight, but he did not look good in the first round, and he was cracked. So I'm going with Jotko here. I do have a money line bet on him. I got it at -120. Premium members saw it at -120 a few weeks ago. It's moved. It hasn't moved a ton. It's now -128, but I expect that to continue to move. I think Krzysztof Jotko is just the far better striker, good enough takedown defense where it shouldn't be an issue. And we just watched him not get submitted by Gerald Meerschaert. If Gerald Meerschaert's not submitting you, Brendan Allen probably isn't either. Go to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. Premium members are getting insane value. We're giving you Prize Picks plays early. We're giving you Monkey Knife Fight plays early. DraftKings plays. We're ranking fighters. We're giving you an optimizer. We're giving you all of our bets the minute we place them. We've integrated Discord, so you will get alerts to your phone the very second that we place a bet. We've now added confident picks and so much more. It's only $2.50 a week. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. You would have seen this bet, the Ricci bet, both of them with some solid line movement there, which will give you some closing line value, which frankly will pay for the membership. Then we've got Randy Costa taking on Guido Cannetti at another really tough fight to break down. Randy Costa is a very good striker. He does have some power, and he does have some finishing ability. He's long for the weight class, and he uses that range well, right? He's got both kicks and punches from range. He throws everything with a ton of power, and he does mix in his strikes with his movements really well. He's listed at having a 100% takedown defense, but listen, that's a bit of a hollow stat there because he's defended one single takedown in his UFC career. But he is at Sanford MMA, so he's probably getting plenty of wrestling looks. He's coming off 2 bad striking losses in a row, despite his incredible 6.73 significant strikes landed per minute. He somehow manages to get hit 8 times per minute. How are you getting hit that much when you're landing that much? He's very, very hittable. Guido Cannetti has seen a light at the end of the tunnel. He's over 43 years old. He's coming off his first win in 4 years. He has competed in martial arts his entire life, everything from Kung Fu to Taekwondo. Style-wise, he's a striker who has really nice movement and solid kicks. He does have a ton of power, or does not have a ton of power, but he makes up for that with volume and movement, but it looks like he had a ton of power in his last fight, coming off that really nice stoppage win to sort of get him back on track. It's another tough pick, and it should be an easy pick for Costa because he's got a clear youth and volume advantage. He's landing almost twice as many strikes, and he's not half his age, but almost half Guido Cannetti's age. But he's just hit so much. It's just incredible that he can still form sentences with the amount of damage that this guy takes. Guido is far older, and especially for a striker, we talk about heavyweights having longer careers. Grapplers can have longer careers. Strikers should not have as long of careers as Guido Cannetti does. But he's looking good, right? He's not hit that often. His chin is typically pretty solid. I want to pick Guido here, but again, similar to the Aleksei Oleinik fight, I just keep seeing the age, and it keeps freaking me out. He should be the better, more technical striker, but Randy hits hard, and I'm not sure that 43-year-old chin is going to just be able to take that. So Another tough pick. I'm going to go with Randy. I think Randy's chin will hold up. I think his pressure, his volume, probably going to get this done. So Randy Costa is the pick. But guys, Guido Cannetti is live just like he was in his last fight. I think he was Jacob's lock of the week in his last fight. And if you saw that stat that I posted the other day, check out our Twitter or Instagram or the YouTube community page. If you bet 1 unit on every single one of Jacob's locks, wins or losses, you would be up 22.7 units. That's how incredible Jacob's lock of the week has been going. So make sure you watch our Tuesday breakdowns and the lock of the week videos to get those every week. And him and I don't always agree on that lock, but he's right far more often than he's wrong, and you'd be up 22.7 units if you just did 1 unit a week on his lock. Then we got Mike Davis taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. Mike Davis is coming back after a year and a half away, but he's had a handful of canceled fights in there since his last win in 2021. Style-wise, he's a fast, athletic striker with very real power. His kicks are incredible, and he will sort of double tap that body and then take it right to the head before he puts his foot back on the mat. He's incredibly well-rounded and has showcased that in his last 2 fights, where he had a nice combined 5 takedowns. Viacheslav Borshchev is a fantastic striker with a legitimate professional kickboxing career behind him before he transitioned to MMA. He's got a great jab, solid power, and fantastic kicks. He is the team alpha male striking coach, and as we've seen, right, Song Yadong didn't, he had his moments in that fight, but we've seen a lot of these team alpha male guys really put together their striking, and Viacheslav has a lot to do with that. He's coming off his first UFC loss, but it was a grappling loss. He fought Mark DeCasey, supposed to be this awesome fireworks striking match, and Mark DeCasey just diving at legs, shooting, turned into a wrestler because he knew what was going to happen in those striking exchanges. And the takedowns are what worry me here, right? We know Mike Davis has takedowns, and Viacheslav has been taken down multiple times in every single one of his UFC fights. Dakota Bush took him down twice. Chris Duncan took him down twice. And Mark DeCasey took him down a ridiculous 11 times. And not to mention that Viacheslav is taking this fight on short notice. So I expect Viacheslav to be the far better, more technical striker. Mike's going to be the more well-rounded overall fighter. And given the short notice, I think Mike Davis gets this done. I think he's going to look to wrestle early. Why would you not, right? It'd be stupid not to. I think he's going to look to wrestle early. That's going to exhaust Viacheslav. It's going to take some of the sting off of the striking. And I think Mike Davis ends up working from there. So Mike Davis is the pick here. He's got to grapple early. He's got to push that pace. And I think he will. And that's why he's the pick. Then we got Sodiq Yusuff with a short notice replacement. Sodiq Yusuff is by far the biggest favorite on this card. He's like a minus 1,000, something obscene like that. Do I think he wins? Yes. Do I think he's worth minus 1,000? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you why. He's a fantastic striker. He's got a ton of power, incredible speed, a wide variety of attacks. His fight against Mike Davis, who we just broke down on the Contender Series, might have been the best Contender Series fight of all time. And in that fight, he just showcased how well-rounded he actually is. He's 6-1 in the UFC. He has outstruck every single opponent, including Arnold Allen, in a loss. He's got decent takedown defense at 68%, but solid enough get-up game that even if he is taken down, he's not just going to be ridden out and lose those minutes. Don Shainis is stepping up on short notice after Sadiq's original opponent dropped. That fight was canceled and then now rescheduled here. He's a tough Northeast guy who did seriously injure himself before recovering and working his way back up the ranks. There's a whole YouTube documentary about it. Check it out. It's pretty crazy what this guy went through. He's a well-rounded guy. He's going to bomb away on his feet and grapple on the ground. He's very tough. He will always come forward, and he doesn't initiate many offensive takedowns, but he does a great job catching kicks and then working takedowns from scrambles and things like that. I'm going to go with Sodiq here, right? Don's tough. He's not going to quit, but Sodiq is so fast, so talented, and very experienced at this level. I see Sodiq controlling the striking pace and getting this done, honestly, probably in a decision, but Don's toughness could potentially break Sodiq, right? Sodiq could come in here after all the rescheduling, after all that stuff, think he's just going to put Don Shainis away in a minute, not be able to do that, and then Don's just going to keep coming. So Sodiq's the pick. I think Sodiq wins. I'm not going to have him, most likely, not going to have him in parlays. Not at these odds, right? When you get Khamzat Chimaev against Nate Diaz at those odds, it's pretty much a sure thing, right? Styles make fights. Khamzat's minus 1,000. It's ridiculous. but it's probably going to happen. Sodiq Yusuff at minus 1,000 versus a really tough guy. Short notice, all sorts of scheduling errors. Not going to do it. Not going to touch it betting-wise, but we'll see when the props drop, and maybe there'll be some value. Then we got Hani Barcelos taking on Trevin Jones. Hani Barcelos is an incredibly well-rounded fighter. I've been really high on him in the past. He's fantastic. He's got great low kicks, very good BJJ. He hits hard. He's got very good wrestling offense and defense. In that Timur Valiev fight, Timur was 0 for 6 in takedown attempts against Hani. And Hani dropped him twice in that fight. That fight easily should have gone to Hani, or could have gone to Hani Barcelos in that fight. He's the real deal. He's the real deal. He is coming off a surprising loss to Victor Henry. That worries me a little bit here because he should have absolutely dominated that fight and didn't. Overall, Hani Barcelos is very, very, very good fighter. And he's fighting Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones is a fun striker with a ton of power. He throws everything with 100% and bad intention. He's not the most technical striker, but he doesn't need to be, right? His striking is solid, and he has a BJJ black belt. He fell in love with his own power, and he became a striker as of late. He's coming off that loss to Bajarat, where it was just a very typical gun-shy Trevin Jones fight. He did try to wrestle, but the shots were pretty sloppy, and it didn't go that way for him. I love Hani in this matchup, and I have a money line bet on him. The Victor Henry loss was surprising. I just don't see that happening again, though. Trevin is gun-shy when he throws his hands. They're looping, and they're obvious. Hani's going to be the more technical, faster, more well-rounded fighter, and he can win this fight anywhere he wants to. I've got a money line bet on him at minus 195. He is up to minus 220. That's probably going to continue to move again. If you were a premium member, you saw it at minus 195. You're going to get that closing line value. You're ahead of the curve. It's going to continue to move, right? It's Sunday on fight week. The most amount of movement happens on like Thursday, Friday, and then there's some movement on Saturday, but not much then. So you're going to get some closing line value here. If you were a premium member, you saw it. If you tailed, well, you just paid for many months of premium membership just with the gap between when I gave you the bet and what the odds are now for everybody else. Go to WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's $10 a month. $10 a month. You get the DraftKings optimizer. You get DraftKings player ranking, projected ownership, projected scoring. You get the FanDuel lineups, FanDuel projections. You get all of our bets the minute we place them, and you get an alert to your phone through Discord when that happens. You get quick picks. You get confidence picks. The amount of content and the amount of exclusive content you get for being a premium member is unparalleled. There is not a single person on this planet that is giving you the $10 value that we are. WeOwnPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. And that takes us to Sexy Mexi John Castaneda taking on Daniel Santos. And John Castaneda is a really fun come-forward fighter. He's very well-rounded and sets an incredible pace. He loves coming forward with fast hands and then shooting takedowns when he has the opening. He does not have a ton of power, but he makes up for that with forward pressure and a wide variety of strikes. His last fight was interesting because in his post-fight speech, he said that he listened to Michael Bisping's commentary from previous fights about stringing together combinations, and that's exactly what he did. Literally watched the fight, listened to the commentators, and then made adjustments based off of that, which is, good for him. Daniel Santos is coming off a loss in his UFC debut where his strikes were almost tripled. He's an old school shoot-a-box striker. If you don't know what that is, that's the Vanderlei Silva gym, that style of striking. Comes forward, tight guard, and just blasts in the pocket. He's got power and speed. He's got solid leg kicks and a clear understanding of violence. He's got very good BJJ from bottom, but he can be taken down. And even though his BJJ is good, it's like competition BJJ. It's old school BJJ where he's like literally working instead of trying to create a scramble and get back to his feet. And this should be a really fun fight. I'm a big Sexy Mexi guy all the way here. I think his striking pressure, his takedowns, should have Daniel on his heels the entire time. Daniel's always going to be live for a finish, but similar to the Julio Arce fight, I think he's going to have trouble finding his rhythm. Castaneda is absolutely the pick, and he's probably going to be safe for your parlays. Then we've got Randy Brown taking on Francisco Trinaldo in what looks to be the new co-main event. Randy Brown is a very good striker who uses his range really well. He's stupid tall for this weight class, and he takes advantage of that. He uses long jabs and kicks to keep you at bay, and then when he's ready, he's going to use his speed to initiate boxing exchanges. He's got nice trip takedowns, Uchimata takedowns, which are like, the wizard and kick across the stomach, stuff like that, and solid BJJ when he hits the mat. He's very good and a lot of fun to watch. He's coming off that win over Chaos Williams, where he survived being knocked down, and he ended up winning that decision. He was just overall the more fluid striker. Francisco Trinaldo, another aging vet that is tricky to pick against. He's 44 years old. That's always a red flag, but he's not really showing any signs of aging yet, and he's coming off back-to-back solid wins over Dwight Grant and Danny Roberts. Style-wise, Francisco has solid wrestling and is just strong as hell. He's legit good everywhere. His striking isn't very technical, but he has real power. And if you go back to his win over Jai Herbert, he knocked that dude out at 42 years old. He went 0 for 1 in takedown against Danny Roberts, but he was still able to more than double his strikes, just showcasing how well-rounded he is. We've made a lot of money here on Francisco Trinaldo, and I don't think I've picked the Francisco Trinaldo fight wrong yet, right? We got him in all his wins. I faded him against Salikov just because stylistically I knew that was going to be a problem. This fight feels like a trap. Like, I love Randy here. I'm almost worried that it's too obvious, right? Francisco, he's going to be 44, but he still has a chin. He's still got a gas tank. He's got some dog in him. I do think Randy's going to be too fast, too long, and too talented for Francisco to outwork or bully his way to win. So I'm going to ride with Randy here. I think this is going to be one of the first times that Francisco is going to show his age. So I think Randy Brown wins. I'm honestly very confident in that, and hopefully not scaring myself with how confident I am. And then the main event of the evening. It's actually you guys love complaining about female main events, but this is an interesting one that absolutely has sort of title implications to it. We got Mackenzie Dern taking on Yan Xiaonan. Mackenzie Dern, as we know, is an amazing grappler. She is trouble for anybody on the ground. Her striking has improved since her debut, and she's definitely gotten more comfortable in those exchanges. You could argue she's gotten too comfortable, right? Because sometimes now we just see her charging forward with big shots and not even looking for takedowns. She does have a negative striking differential, and you guys know I love to rant and rave, not only about her fake accent, that's a whole nother thing, but you guys know I love to rant and rave about how miserable her takedowns are. She has a horrific 9% takedown accuracy. That's got to be some of the worst of all time, especially somebody as amazing as she is on the ground. Like, you want to be on the ground, figure out how to take people there. Anyway, she's insanely tough. She's got no quit in her at all, and she has made steady improvements in every single fight. She's coming off that split decision win over Tecia Torres, where even though she did not get a takedown, she was constantly threatening submissions. And I think what happened in that fight is Tecia probably spent the whole camp just working takedown defense. And then Mackenzie Dern surprised her with her striking, surprised her with the fact that even against the cage, she could tie her up and threaten with stuff. So hopefully for Jan's sake, she didn't make that same mistake in this camp and just defend takedowns and not work anything else. Yan Xiaonan's a very good boxer with well-timed strikes. She's got very clean technique, but she does not shy away from a dirty fight, and she is willing to bang. Outside of her 2 UFC losses, which were to current champion Carla Esparza and perennial contender Marina Rodriguez, she's also had a dominant run in the UFC with wins over Claudia Gadelha, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and Angela Hill. For the most part, she keeps fights standing and outstrikes her way to a decision, but we did see her get 5 of her own takedowns against Karolina 2 years ago and 2 against Marina earlier this year. And here's the thing. You all know that I hate the fact that Mackenzie Dern has no wrestling. Her 9% takedown accuracy is a legitimate embarrassment. I will never understand how you can be that dominant on the ground and know how to get it there. But she has shown genuine striking technique, and that she doesn't even need a takedown to threaten submissions. I can see her pressuring forward, throwing strikes, staying in Jan's face, and eventually getting it to the ground. And once it gets there, she's going to be miles ahead. The odds are probably a little wide for Mackenzie, but I think she gets it done. I think Mackenzie Dern is an elite level athlete, and I think Yan Xiaonan is a very good athlete, and I think those are the levels here. So Obviously, Jan can dance around and jab her way to win, but this is a 25-minute fight. And if you can give Mackenzie credit for anything, it is how insanely tough she is. She's not just some jiu-jitsu nerd that came over to MMA and can't handle a fist fight. Mackenzie Dern can handle a fist fight. She will take a beating and keep coming forward. She is not a quitter. She doesn't turn her head when strikes get thrown at her. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think she's going to be stupid tough, far more dangerous on the ground. I think she's going to pressure forward, take whatever damage she's going to take, tie up against the cage, threaten there, and get it done. Mackenzie Dern is absolutely the pick here. Guys, don't forget, become a premium member. We got the DraftKings Optimizer. We got the bets the minute we place them. We have everything you could ever need to make money watching fights. It is only $10 a month, $2.50 a week. And if you want $50 for free, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners. Make a deposit. I'll send you $50. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, however you want it.